So this brings us towards the home run. So we had a beautiful flow just a moment ago, and throughout the whole of this event and this session that we've had. But the one thing I want to bring to everybody's attention is a scenario, if possible. And I'd like everybody to give it a bit of a touch base. We've got a lot of it through a few of the groups that we were talking about. But what I found is this is some kind of a thread that seems to be coming through, on a weekly basis, but most definitely this week. So if we had a scenario, let's look and think. And Lisa, you and I have had this conversation very much so. So is Jatinder, and so is Manjot, and so is a number of other people who actually attend our business boardrooms, the mastermind programs we have on a monthly basis. If we, as our physical form, were powered, which I believe true we are, we're powered by a celestial light, a celestial being, a celestial energy, aka soul, whatever you would like to say. If I'm setting the stage here, what is your view upon that conversation you had a moment ago, where we choose our journey, we select our journey on this planet, and we select which family we go into, we select which purpose we have on our planet, because everybody's got a predestined. We were touching it on destiny. You can see what was coming through from there as well. That everyone's got a preset agenda. So it's like picking up a book and say, which book do I want to read? Or in specific, which book would I like to be a part of? And could it be also, and this is a thought, so is it a possibility that this life journey has been selected by us as an individual, as our celestial light? Could it also be that we can select the family, the home, by looking at the whole agenda and saying, this is a great learning that we're going to have? And could it be, the third and final thing that I want to say, that our only purpose in our celestial light is to be incarnated in a conscious world, which is what we live in, a conscious world, in order to add knowledge to our celestial light and learning? And the fact that when we pass into the light again, when we come from the light and pass into the light, that actually when we're in the light, we can't actually make new learnings, but we can actually recite or rhetorically or store or make sense of the celestial learning. But when we need to require more learning, we have to come and incarnate again. Lovely little thought there. So question one to everybody, and you can answer any one of those three. Please understand, and this is just a figure of speech or a process that I'm trying to share, and this is not about who wants to speak, who doesn't want to speak. I would like everybody who doesn't usually speak to please air their thoughts as well. So are we, in first choice, are we actually a celestial light? Could it be that we've selected this journey? And could it also be, question two, that this is a predestined process or journey that we're going to have? And then finally, is it that our light itself is that we're coming onto this life, in this conscious world, to make learnings so that we can return to the unconscious realm of light to process it? Thoughts?
That's a very, very deep question.
I think we can all take it. That's my opinion, my humble opinion.
This is my thought process, and I've had these conversations with a few people, because not everybody is willing to go there and have that conversation, and that's absolutely fine. So my thought process on this is, yes, we are celestial beings. Yes, we decide who we're going to be with, what family we're going to be with, what we need to learn, and so on and so forth when we're in the celestial being. And then so when we're here on this earth, as I am now, Manjeet, what I'm doing is learning what the celestial being, my light, needed me to learn to take back with it. So essentially, when I pass, when this body expires, I go back to wherever it is, whichever universe it is I'm going to be in. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to watch my life story. I'm going to run this film and see what I've learned all the way along. And then if my being feels, actually, I need to go back, I didn't quite get that, I go around gathering people or other beings, and it's like, I need you, I need you, I need you. And this is why I strongly believe that every single person, including the people in this group, right, who come on every single Friday, or new people that come in, I've actually picked them to be here because I need to learn something from you as individuals, so that when I pass and I go back up and I watch the movie of this lifetime, I can say, okay, yeah, I got that, but I didn't quite get that. I need to go back. That's how I see things.
Yes, I believe we are here on a journey as part of a further journey elsewhere. I believe, and the older I'm getting, the more I believe it, that we do actually have an ordained path, that there is a path for us. However, that said, how we travel that path is then dealt with or orchestrated by the decisions that we make on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. Although we have a path, a goal, a preordained position to be at, we don't always appreciate what that is, and quite often we go off path and we don't actually realize why we're doing that until we're back on the path. And the analogy that we frequently use, and particularly yourself, Sukhi, in trainings, is that we all have a destination that we're aiming for, but there are times when we need to go off to a different port to gain provisions for the rest of the journey. Now, it might seem it's a backward journey. It might well seem that it's off track. But if you think about a car journey, services aren't always directly on your journey. You have to take a detour. You have to come off the motorway to get to the services for food, for fuel, whatever, to then get back on. And I think life is very much like that. How we then will look at it when we get back into our alternate reality, I don't know. I'll let you know when I get there. Yeah. And I'll then report back on my Feel Good Friday at the time. So I think the only thing we can do while we're doing this is have fun on the journey, make the most of it, and just appreciate that, you know, what happens for a reason. You might not appreciate it at the time, but it will make sense at some time later.
Love it. Thank you, Gary.
Right. I believe that as we're celestial beings, we meet a group of beings that we have often gone and experienced lives together through all our many lives. And we maybe want to experience being badly beaten up. I'm just picking something up. And one of these beings that loves us agrees that they will be the one that does the beating up, so that we can experience what it's like and what it feels and what emotions we go through when we are beaten up. Mm-hmm. And if one can remember, after one has been through this awful experience, whatever the awful experience is, that in actual fact that person loved us and damaged us with love. It makes it much easier for us in this life and in this time to forgive that person. Because it puts a different slant on it.
That's right. It's that lovely angel story that we talk about quite regularly, isn't it? But I won't cover it right now, but if we get a chance at the end, do remind me and I'll cover that lovely scenario.
No, I just wanted to bring together just briefly what part of what Simran said and Manjeet said as well. And actually, so when we're going through challenges with a person or a situation, is actually we're so focused on the situation and the person, is actually asking ourselves, if we chose this, what lesson would it be teaching us? And then going and focusing more on that lesson and understanding that this experience could be anybody, this situation could be any situation, but ultimately the important thing is this seed that's at the end of it, of this learning and the teaching through it. So, and when we can bring ourselves to that, which is to that seed, to the gift within the situation, then we can learn it and move through it. Whereas when we don't, and we focus more on the person and the situation and go into the thinking around that, then actually we are then going to end up with other people. We may get rid of that situation, we may get rid of that person, but then we'll end up bringing that energy still in through another partner or another person or another situation to keep teaching the lesson until that lesson that we've asked for has been moved through and integrated.
Okay, so I've got a couple of points which I'm not sure if everybody will agree. I think the life for me is always continuous. There's a never ending of life. So my existence was existed even before I existed, if that makes any sense, in a shape of maybe eggs in my mom, ovaries and things like that. And they existed in the same way before they existed. So the life is always continue. There is never an ending of life, whether you are here in a physical form or not, that the life will continue. Like my life will still continue through me as a part of myself, through my children and then their children as well. So I am still gonna be at some point part there, and similarly my parents are part of me, but I'm part of them. So that's one scenario. And the second thing is that I think that we can actually reincarnate in this life. I don't know what's going on after this life or not, but I know that we can actually reincarnate. You can, because no babies are born as inhumane or bad people or anything like that. But the life changes them into the things, the environment changes it, but you can change the environment around you, and that can have an impact on your life and reincarnate you. You can be a dacoit or somebody, but through a rehabilitation, you can actually become a saint. And in Sikh history, we have stories like that where this has happened at the time of Guru Nanak. So I think we all have the capability of reincarnate ourselves. So I can only talk about this life. That's what my point is.
Thank you.
Yeah, what I wrote on the comments just before, just the idea that we were born with a set kind of time, set amount of breaths in our life, and it's how we kind of use that life, which I think is the choice part. We can go through the mundane routine of living our life and not learning anything from it, but it's when you break yourself out of that cycle and actually have insight into what you're doing, and actually that's where the change happens, and that's where life can become quite beautiful and very happy for a lot of fulfilling people. So it's the challenge is breaking out that routine, which I think a lot of people have struggled in their life to do, but that's the breakthrough moment, really.
I was just going to say, can we listen to what Jatinder has to say? Because actually I think that he will probably say something quite similar to what I'm going to say, but I love hearing from him too.
Okay, so you first.
So I'll be with you. Okay, so I've had experiences over the last few years, some of them plant medicine induced and some of them through meditation, of pure connection. And there was a moment where I understood emotions, or I felt emotions as a map of consciousness. And then it turned out that actually there was a doctor called David Hawkins that created the map of consciousness. So the idea for me is that we are here to experience oneness. And it's the idea of separation, perceived separation, that creates the kind of experiences and the level of experiences that we're having. I, hand on heart, have no doubt that we're a part of something bigger, and that part, that it is running through our bones, our cells, and everything in between.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. What I always find fascinating is that this realm that we're on, this planet Earth, right? There's a timeline. We all follow a time, yeah? Number of hours, days, whatever. And if I put myself in a scenario to think that if I was to leave at a certain point and, I don't know, go over my life or all the scenarios, whatnot, and then enter back again, it's like at that point where I'm entering back, I don't know what that timeline could possibly look like. I don't know if you guys are going to be in it, or whether, choosing that path is going to allow me to say, well, these are the possibilities that could be lived out, and these are the people that are going to be on your journey. And maybe back wherever it is, we already have crossed our paths many, many times before, and we're just coming back again. But this time round in that timeline, it's almost like, well, if I'm coming in, I'm going to meet Sukhi and Gary and Gurpreet and Manjeet and all these people, and they're there, and this is a possibility for what could happen, for what you were here to do, and this is your chance to do it. And maybe that's what the karma, the actions that we accumulate, and the entry points or the exit points that we come in at, and then the bigger matrix that is at play, because it's like, how does our interaction then influence each other? Because our choices here, will impact. You're driving down the road, for example, you press the brake, you might be fine because you just stopped from hitting somebody else in front of you, but then 10 cars back, there might be a big backlog. It's like, how are we interlinked or how are we connected? It just seems like there's one big massive matrix going on, and somehow we're just a part of that, like almost like a wave. And if you put like one of those floaty balls on top of the wave, it just goes along with what's going on, right? It's an interesting one. So I think it's like, even if you take this room, we've got so many different thoughts here, all happening at this one moment in time. So why isn't the possibility there that maybe multiple things are happening all at once that we're not even aware of, right? So it's an interesting one, and I think we're all in it together. I know that much, yeah.
So it's very interesting what you said about being part of the divine light and being sent here to get experience that we need to take back and put into the light. That's a contra view to what I've always understood, and it's a great view actually, because it makes more sense now. I've always understood that you were separated from the light because you had ego, and this earthly experience is a part of the journey to get rid of the ego.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But you've sort of flipped that on its head, and it's just really interesting what you've said.
It's just for your reference, Dil, I can share this myself because obviously we visually at least share the same faith, and you may be way ahead of myself on this journey. No, I mean it genuinely, humbly, not like an ego based, but the reality is this is from actually Gurbani. So the Gurbani is the holy scriptures of the Sikhs. So that's exactly where it's coming from. And by all means, we can have that discussion another time. But thank you for that. Thank you very much for at least accepting that.
It's because I think in our faith, there's no right or wrong.
No.
It's all about exploring, and people forget that, and they get too busy trying to rail track everything.
And isn't that a part of our actual journey and learning? Possibly, hey? Trina was saying that. Bhupinder Singh, thank you very much for that, Dil.
Can I just quickly just ask Chris to share, because he's got a bit of a movement going in the chat box. So Chris, do you want to just share what you think?
Yeah, we'll just get Bhupinder to finish, then we can end on Chris's, then we can go on, if that's okay, Jatinder.
Okay, so sort of, I mean, one possibility is that we are actually all the same being, but we're experiencing life through so many different perspectives. So in effect, we're learning from ourselves, you know. So as I'm communicating to you, we are the same being. We just don't quite sort of realize it.
The collected, connected consciousness.
Exactly. I think I described it better on the chat, but
he said, "Let me bring it up. Where's it gone?
Chris, you're going to hold a room next week, okay? I'm having an executive push on you. So next week, get in touch with me, and I'm going to have you a room ready for next week. Anybody else, please do connect.
Okay. Yeah, what I said was, would it not be interesting if we were all the same being, just experiencing all the different perspectives from existing as different people?
Love it. Profile. Yeah. So our versions of the world. What an extension. That's great. Thank you for that, Chris. Because it is a wonderful conversation, I'm going to bring it into a little bit of a warmth if I can. There is no right, there is no wrong. The most important thing is that we were talking earlier on, there was a few conversations we had about this, what we call chicken soup being God, and all those references that, which are all correct. I mean, the bottom line is my personal opinion, and I think in an incorrect, probably insensitive world that I live in, that I percept that anybody's version of the world is correct. Their version is their correct version. So the conversation is this: if you can all just release your mind a little bit. So let's have a little think. What if we go back to the principle of the celestial light? A celestial light reference soul. Soul reference possibly, maybe, let's just call it angel. Is that okay for everybody, just to take that principle journey with me? So let's just suggest it's a journey, and let's say the celestial light, being your soul, is an angel for this character conversation. If we understood that there are many angels over there, I'm just going to pick one anyway, right? So I'm going to suggest something like Angel Gabriel. It's got nothing to do with male, female. I'm just picking a name that comes to brain at that time, if it's okay. everybody, please, if you can, forgive me before we start this journey, then we'll get further in the conversation. So I'm going to say something wrong, I'm very certain. So it's going to work well for some people and not well for other people, but let this be a scenario. It's just a framework. It's a nice thought, no challenge. So here's the point. We have Angel Gabriel. Angel Gabriel realizes that as mankind, humans, we can feel both pain and both happiness. So we call it the angel and demon effect. An angel context. He realized as an angel, he can only do good by people and he cannot do bad by them. Does that make sense? And by the way, if anybody wants to disappear, you're welcome to. Just letting everybody know that please do share this platform with other people. Share the link. It's the same link next week. We'd love to see you next Friday between 6 and 4. It's the second week now. We've done over 6 o'clock, but I'm happy to stay here because I thoroughly love this for the weekend. It sets a lovely framework. Please, please, please do invite as many people as you want. It's an open platform. Bring your friends in. If you're in and you've got like minds, bring them in, and we'd love you to facilitate if you can. We have a limit to how many facilitations we can do, so one of us, key personnel, will drop out if necessary. So thank you, that's for that. And now I'm going to continue with the story. So if we suggested that an angel can only do good by you and a demon can only do bad by you, just that two preferences in that conversation, prefaces. So an angel, Gabriel, thinks in his life, goes to God and says, God, I have a problem. Because I can't feel a problem, but I'm just telling you I've got a problem, a challenge, a stretch. He says the thing is that every time I listen on the right shoulder of a human being, I'm listening to their challenges and I'm saying here, here, there, and I'm giving them the positive outcomes of this. He goes, but I feel a bit of a hoax. And the hoax is this, that I can't feel their pain. He says, the demons are the one who are feeling the pain because they're inciting it, because I'm kind of stuck. He goes, I don't feel honest, and that's what my life sits on, honesty. So God says, okay, do you have a solution for this, son? And he said, yes, because I really need to feel their pain. God says there's only one way of feeling that pain, and that, son, is to be incarnated as a human being. So then you can feel pain and bliss at the same time, or in the same moment, or whenever you choose to. He said, great, good. So what do I need to do? He said, yes, so I can incarnate you, but there's a caveat. He said, what's the caveat? He said, you need to get another angel to be incarnated with you. Because as long as that angel incarnates with you and is willing to incarnate with you, all good. You can both go down and you can enjoy the journey and then come back and learn from it. He says, brilliant, that's no problem. He goes, I've got 400, 500 Facebook angel friends. I can go out there. I can give them all a post and say, yeah, come on board with me. So he does just that. He goes out, finds out his best friend. He says, Jatinder, hey, guess what? I've just realized there's a caveat to our life, and that life says that I don't feel integrous by trying to help somebody with a positive thought after they've had the pain, because I've got no evidence of pain. I don't feel it. I'm a celestial being. I'm in the light and I'm an angel. Jatinder says, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And he goes, so I went to God with this problem, and God said, just go and get one of your best friends to incarnate with you, another celestial light, and you will love it. Go down together, and you can take that journey and come back. So I've come to you, Jatinder. Come on, mate. You're going to incarnate with me, aren't you? And Jatinder says, a moment ago, Sukhi, you were talking real sense. He said, but now you're asking me to incarnate as a human so I can feel pain. I've been there, bro. I don't want to go through that again. So I really will love you. I'm really happy as I am. I feel I'm doing a good job. Please go and find somebody else. So Angel Gabriel doesn't feel any pain because he can't. He's an angel, right? He says, okay, no problem. Let's jump on another one. Okay, Gary, come on, mate. You can do it. Gary says, go on, mate. Keep moving. Keep walking. As I say, walk on, walk on. Then he comes and he finds Manjeet. He says, Manjeet, come on. She says, bye-bye. And it just carries on and on and on and on. He then still doesn't feel pain, still feels, well, okay, maybe not this time, maybe another time. Starts walking back towards God's door, just about to knock on the door, and there's somebody standing on the side. And his name is Gyan. And he's standing there, perfectly okay, Sasyakal Gyan, how are you, sir? He's standing on the corner. And because he's such a pure light, he's standing there and he goes, Sukhi. Oh, sorry. I switched the name from Gabriel to Sukhi, so we'll take it Sukhi. Sukhi, what's up? Well, he says Uncle Sukhi, because in this particular incarnation, I'm his uncle. His Uncle Sukhi, what's up? And he says, Sukhi says to him, Sukhi, I'm having a problem, Gyan. Because I went through all my friends. I wanted to feel pain, and God said, go and get them incarnated, and nobody wanted to come with me. And he said, okay, I'll come with you. I'm happy. I'll come and incarnate with you as a human being so that you can feel the pain, and I'll learn something, I'm sure, as well. He said, what, really? You don't really know me. Why would you do that? He goes, well, why not? He goes, Gyan, come on then, son, let's go. Jumps inside, says to God, God. And by the way, I do apologize in advance. There's no male or female in God, but I'm just using it as a framework. If it's okay, God, if you don't mind, what's going on? I'm ready. I found the person. Gyan over here is going to join with me, and we're done. God says, no problem. He said, so this is the deal. Gyan and Sukhi, I'm going to incarnate both of you, but Gyan, you are the one who's got to inflict the pain on Sukhi in your incarnation. Pain, learning, deceit, whatever you want to call it, but let's call it pain. The experience of pain in his incarnated life. Gyan says, yes, no problem. But God, I've got a little request of my own. He says, yes, no problem at all. He said, I don't mind doing that. There's only one thing. In that moment, when I inflict that pain in Sukhi's life, he must remember that I agreed from being an angel with him to be incarnated, and I just did it because I loved him and I wanted him to take that learning in this journey, in this incarnation. Sukhi says, yes, no problem. That'll be absolutely fine. Gyan says, do remember that when I do inflict that pain, that you remember in that moment, in that second, that we agreed this and I only did it to love you for your journey and for your loving and for your learning. I said, no problem. So the story ends there. We end up on this earth. The question I ask everybody, just to leave a lovely flavor for the weekend, what if there was many more Gyans in your life? What if some of them had agreed to be your friends, to give you the love that you wanted to experience if you were a previous demon? And what if some of them were inflicting the pain in your life upon agreement, upon choice, upon our journey choice? Are we going to be as fragrant in our thinking, as positive in our thoughts, to sit there and say, I can forgive you and I can love you in that moment, in that second, so that I kept my part of the agreement, which is when whoever I chose to bring back with me, come into this life, inflicts that pain, that I accept it, acknowledge it in the conscious realm and being present. That's all I've got to say. That's it. I thought it'd be lovely, lovely thought for the weekend. And my sincere apologies if I have not made myself clear in my journey, but I subscribe to that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I've just put in the group, I remember when you and I had that conversation, and I know exactly where I was sitting in your house when we had that conversation,
Yes.
right on that sofa over there. And I sat there and I went, oh my good God, everything now makes sense, because it just opened up my mind to so much. Everything that's happened up to that point suddenly made sense. And since then, everything that's happened makes sense. And it will continue to make sense because I've now accepted my journey.
Well done.
Up until then, I hadn't accepted it. I've accepted my journey.
God bless. God bless. And the loop that Bali was talking about in her group before, this loop will come back. What if we could change that loop? What if we could change that loop and say, actually, how can I forgive that person? Because they were the person I agreed to take the journey with. That does not mean accept the atrocity and do nothing about it. It's just saying, accept it in that moment. Because the only person who's going to benefit from this acceptance, I suppose, is me, right? If I can forgive quickly.
And just to add to that, the forgiveness isn't conditional on whether you think it's right or wrong of what happened. So you can still, it doesn't mean that you negate what's happened. It just means that you're willing to actually get what you want through the forgiveness. We often hold on to our ego and hold on to being right about a situation at the cost of actually receiving what we want, which is on the other side of it.
Wonderful. And I'm going to actually just take a bit of a push on this. And I think Gurpreet wanted to say something. Did you?
Yes, I did. Just super quick. I know I always go back to that part of my life, but that's because there was that shift where you were like, oh my gosh, there is a master plan and a master planner, and it all makes sense. And something that I started to say at that point, where going from being the victim in my life to being the victor of my life, was instead of, I actually saw that there was nothing to forgive. And I switched the conversation, the language switched from I need to forgive you to thank you for giving me what you did, and receiving it as a gift. The moment I started to receive it as a gift, the gifts just started to turn up. And so my experience of life changed, and my experience of the people that I needed to forgive changed. So yeah,
what you just touched there is very, very pivotal. And I want everybody to understand something, that forgiving without making the learning is not okay. So you must remember that one point. It's a very deep conversation, because forgiving without making the learning means that you've lowered yourself below another light. Yeah. So find the learning, find this hurt me. So what was the learning from this moment? We call this a flip, and only then forgive. And once you've really found that, and only then can it be from a deep-seated soul position of saying, do you know what? Thank you very much. Because do you know what I just received from there? I received that I ignore myself and I don't respect myself in the same way.